Welcome pilots, my name is HybridV and we are back once again to watch your takeoff and landings. And what have we got here? We have a 325A coming in for landing. If this is the first time you are watching the show, this is where I fly around various spaceports in Star Citizen and watch players come and go and give them a rating for their landing or takeoff out of 10. And in this case, we have a 325A. Now, what am I looking for in these takeoff and landings? Because as you well know, if you play Star Citizen, of course, as long as you land and you survive, that is all that matters in the game. But what we are looking for is a little bit more challenge and see if people are actually applying it. We're looking for cinematic landings. So a lot of controlled descent and ascent as they're taking off and landing, pulling the gear out right before they land, using VTOL where necessary. So for example, as they slow down or whatever. And just in general, looking like something out of a sci-fi film or whatnot, right? We want to see if people are looking like they're doing something out of Star Wars when they take off and land. In this case, this player here is a little bit hesitant as they come in. They're slowing down, trying to control their speed, but they're also slowing down and stopping, possibly using third person, which is usually a common thing people do. But you can see the gear is not out until right before they touch down, which is exactly what I'm looking for here. Now, the 325A does not use VTOLs, and of course in Star Citizen, VTOLs are not necessary for takeoff because almost every ship, I believe, used to be like, for example, the Mole couldn't, and I think the Raft, but now that's different with Master Modes, but every ship could take off without using VTOL. However, in the future, ships will actually overheat if you don't use VTOL properly, because remember, VTOL engines are more powerful than the maneuvering thrusters that are on the bottom of your ship. So in the near future, your maneuvering thrusters will overheat before you even get a chance to get too far with them. So you will want to use VTOL in the future. Look at that nice centered landing. Now, this player did actually, this looks like one of the hangars below me just opened up, or it just closed. Looks like someone just actually took off from there. But yeah, that 325 was a little bit hesitant. However, they did pull their gear down before they land, and they decided they wanted to center it at the cost of being, a little bit more hesitant. So I do quite enjoy that. Also, look at the Crusader security Mantis over here. That's been sitting here since I took off. I don't know what's going on with it. It's possible it might be soft death. Let me actually take a look at this cockpit here. Nope, he's actually still alive. Classic NPC T-posing on a chair. We love to see it, folks. Never change Star Citizen. All right, so that 325A was a phenomenal landing, though, of course, the hesitation could be worked on a little bit. Looks like that pilot's probably still trying to kind of get their space legs a little bit. I'm not entirely certain if this is like a new ship for them. I know the 325A can be something of like a favorite for a lot of people, but it's in that base skin. So it could be like a loaner for something, I'm not entirely certain. Either way, though, I do like the way that pilot approached their landing. They had their gear right before they touched down, and they were relatively centered. It was really, really nice. But that hesitation does cost a lot in pointage there. So I would probably rate that about an 8 out of 10, because I would love to give it a 9, because it was following all the steps, but that hesitation really costs a lot more. And as all of you know, with Master Modes and the new flight model, it's a lot easier to fly than it ever has been before, so I'm going to be rating things a little bit harsher than I normally would. Also, apologies for the stutters here and there. That seems to be with Invictus over here at Area 18, which is why you're seeing also a lot of ships here. Invictus Launch Week is going on now, so there's a lot of people renting ships and then just leaving them out in the wild down here. All right, let's go ahead and cut the cameras here and find our next customer. All right, we have a Constellation in the Stormbringer livery. I actually quite enjoy the blue and black. Again, apologies for the stutter here. That apparently is just what Area 18 is doing right now currently with Invictus Launch Week. I don't know if it's specifically with Invictus Launch Week, but that is just how Area 18 is behaving right now, at least for my system. You all know I run a pretty beefy rig and have decent frame rates playing this game, but the stuttering is generally a rarity, and in this case, I'm getting a lot of it. Just only Area 18, everywhere else does not seem to have the same problem. All right, so Constellation is landing in the same spot we saw that 325A earlier, and oh, I apologize. There's some graphical glitches here that were carried over from the PTU, it seems. So I gotta be careful how far I zoom in. And we can see that the Constellation is not using their VTOL. Their fans are not enabled. They also do have their gear out a lot earlier than I would like. And while they're warbling everywhere, there's not as much hesitation as I would call here. It looks like they're really just trying to center themselves, and that warbling is not too bad so long as they're not hesitating, they're not pausing, taking too much time, and then descending again, right? So everything you want it to be generally in a smooth motion, and while this person was warbling around, they were not hesitating as they were coming down at least. Oh, look at this Corsair taking off, look at that. The extension of the wings, beautiful takeoff. I'm not going to give this Corsair a rating, although I'm going to continue watching it because, of course, the Corsair is always a big crowd pleaser. Any Drake fans out there? Let me know in the comments down below. I know Drake is supposed to have a concept coming out in Invictus Launch Week. What do you all think it is? I'm hoping it's like a heavy fighter, but I mean, we already have a Cutlass, which not really a heavy fighter, but it's kind of in between already. Me personally, heavy fighter, maybe another cap ship, I don't know. Anyway, Constellation, fantastic control, even though it's a little bit warbly, early gear activation, and no VTOL usage, so I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. Very good, very well controlled for the most part, but there's a lot of steps missing there, and I do enjoy how that landing looked, though, overall. All right, also going to point out that Stormbringer livery also looks fantastic on the Constellation, but anyway, let's move on. Look at all these C2s out here. This is, again, Invictus shenanigans here, apparently. All right, folks, let's see who we get. Okay, small side hangar opening up here. Let's see what we got. I am stuttering once again. I may end up actually dying here because stutters can actually get you killed. Oh, nope, we're back. All right. I don't know if it affects everybody in Area 18. Let me know in the comments if it's also affecting you as well. I'm curious if it's like a global thing or if it's just me in particular. It's very interesting. But we do have an Avenger Titan taking off here. So Invictus Launch Week is also going to be a free fly, and the Avenger Titan is one of the ships given in that free fly. You can see gear is still down as this player takes off. Interestingly enough, this player was flying at full speed despite having their gear down, so this player actually disabled the safeties for their landing gear so they could take off without pulling their gear up or needing to pull the gear up, because currently right now, if you have your gear down, you are limited in speed unless you actually activate that safety. But unfortunately, because of that, Takeoff does have gear down. We're going to have to subtract a substantial amount of points for it. So it was controlled, it was fast, and it was exactly what I'd like to see, but the gear was down the entire time. So I'm going to rate that an 8 out of 10. Let's move on. And we got a large hangar opening up over here next to these two C2s and a bunch of other ships parked out on the tarmac out here. What have we got? And it looks like we have a Carrack getting ready for takeoff, as well as a very, very dirty Mantis below me. That is actually what happens when your ship is actually out for a long period of time without repair. It actually wears down like that, so that's why the exterior of that Mantis is very dirty. That is a ship that's been sitting there for many, many hours. And you can see the gear is already up before they leave the hangar here on this Carrack. This is exactly what we like to see, folks. Now, let's see, are they going to push out in a nice smooth motion, or are they going to pause and have some hesitation? Let's see what we got here. Beautiful bottom thrusters firing. This is the cool thing about the Carrack. It doesn't need VTOLs because its mains on the bottom, or I should say its maneuvering thrusters on the bottom, are already more powerful enough to be VTOLs in their own right. Look at that beautiful movement. Looking solid. This is exactly what you want to see. A 10 out of 10 takeoff for the Carrack. Carrack is always going to be a beautiful ship to watch taking off. The animations on it are awesome, but more importantly, the thrusters on it. I'm curious if they're going to be updating the visuals on the thrusters for it at some point, because the actual Hornet series got a new update to its visual effects now that it's all gold standard. At least the Mark II version has, and I'm curious if that's going to be the design language for the Anvil series engines going forward. So are all Anvil engines going to have that beautiful blue glow and effect to it now that we've seen on the Hornet Mark II? I'm not entirely certain, but I do hope so, because I quite enjoy the Hornet's engines. Let's move on. All right, small side hangar opening up here. We have another Avenger Titan. Is this actually going to be a newer player? Let's find out. We do see the gear is down as they're exiting the hangar. This very much is a sign of a newer player here, as they're probably trying to get their space leg. Could be a new player, could be a returning player. If you haven't even played for the last 6 to 8 months or even a few years, I would not doubt you probably have no idea what's going on with the current flight model and you're still trying to get your space legs, which is perfectly fine. You know, in Star Citizen, as long as you take off and land without dying, that is well and good for the game. But like I said, for our purposes in this video, we're trying to look for people who want to, you know, kind of practice and get a little bit better at applying the skill of having smoother and more cinematic takeoff and landings, because it is a skill. It's fun to try just as a challenge for yourself, right? Even I, you know, as much as I like doing it, I'm not 100% perfect at it, but I still like to practice it even if I know nobody's watching, just because it's fun. It just adds a little bit more excitement. And of course, as Star Citizen grows and grows and more features are added to the game, you can see their gear finally coming up. This is going to be something that you're going to have to actually practice and get better at, because there's going to be a lot more features that are going to be making flying a little bit more tricky and harder that you're going to have to pay attention to. Like I said, the overheating of thrusters, the ability to overspeed your gear, which is why that safety mechanism for your gear is in place in the first place, and much more, including, like, you know, control surfaces and whatnot. There's a lot more to it. This, you know, this Avenger Titan is a little bit hesitant, slow getting out of the hangar, definitely a novice. you know, pretty much could say it's a 6 out of 10, but this is definitely just middle ground, 5 out of 10. In fact, could be a 4 out of 10 because you really should just have your gear up by that point. As soon as you're exiting, you don't really need to be flying that fast with your gear down. Like I said, in Star Citizen, doesn't matter, but in the future, it absolutely will. You will overspeed your gear, which is why it's a safety feature. Currently, right now, it doesn't matter whatsoever. So yeah, let's say I'll give him, we'll be a little bit generous. I'll give him a 5 out of 10. It definitely could be considered a 4 out of 10 though, because the gear was out for just too long, but possibly a novice pilot. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so what have we got here? We have in the medium hangars a Constellation getting ready for takeoff. What type of Constellation is it? It is a bog standard Constellation, and my game is freezing and everything is falling apart. Oh, but we do have a bolter pattern takeoff from the Constellation. We have not seen one of these in a long while. Not everybody's doing bolter pattern takeoffs. They just want to ascend horizontally and take off. Unfortunately, we do have the gear down during this takeoff sequence. That is unfortunate. I would like to see the gear up if you're going to be doing a bolter style pattern takeoff. Folks, if you're not familiar with what a bolter pattern is, again, apologies for the graphics glitches here. That is something I can't control at this moment. I am on Vulcan, but it is just it's being weird when I zoom in. But anyway, a bolter pattern takeoff is where you lift off, especially in a vertical hangar, and then you point straight up. You have your gear up, but you don't need to use VTOLs at that point because you're using your mains. And then you just power out of the hangar once the doors are open. That is a bolter style takeoff. Really handy if you just, you know, have very little time and you want to just kind of get out of the hangar as fast as you can. It also looks really, really cool. It just looks awesome. Looks like, you know, the Millennium Falcon taking off from Mos Eisley or something like that, right? We have a Hammerhead taking off here, and we see the gear is now coming up. That is an excellent time to be bringing the gear up. Hammerhead does not have VTOL engines, so I'm not going to take anything away from not using VTOLs here, although there is some hesitation, possibly because they're trying to get their bearings there. Again, I apologize for these graphical glitches. Goodness, I'm gonna have to zoom out. Yeah, this was carried over from the PTU, which is unfortunate. Really, really annoying. All right, let's see how this player pushes out. So minor hesitation is really the only thing I can criticize them there. It looks like they might have been trying to get their bearings, maybe hitting a keybind, something like that. But you'd like to see them just vacate the area all in a nice smooth motion, because that is the cinematic aspect we're looking for. For that Constellation, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10 because they had the gear down the entire time, and then they just decided to kind of meander in the area. It wasn't a full bolter pattern, which is a little disappointing. And for this Hammerhead, I will give them a 9 out of 10. The only thing I didn't like was the just slight juddering hesitation there. That was it, but everything else was perfect about that Hammerhead. Beautiful takeoff also. It's good to be back doing all this, folks. I was on vacation for the past week, and it was a fantastic vacation, but I was also unplugged from social media and unplugged from Star Citizen in general, so it's nice to be back. This week, I do plan on getting back into reviewing some of the cool new ships coming into Star Citizen. I do need to catch up on the Pulse. I do want to have a review of the Pulse, and of course, I'm going to be reviewing the grilled chicken from Aegis, aka the Firebird. I do want to review that one that drops, as well as, of course, the Argo, the new Argo kind of variant that just also got put out recently, and so much more, of course. And it stutters. Am I going to die here? Hope I don't die. All right, we're good. But yeah, folks, it's going to be awesome, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of that coming down the line. Let's go ahead and move on and find our next customer. All right, brand new day here, folks. I'm at Baijini Point in orbit of ArcCorp. And we have a Hull C coming in for cargo transfer. You can see some cargo hanging off the Hull C. The spindle does not appear to be properly showing here. So we have some issues with some, I don't know if it's like LODs or just something wrong with the animations, but you can see that the Hull C is properly extended, but the spindle itself with the arms are not. Some kind of visual glitch. I'm sure it looks fine to the pilot of the ship, but for us it is definitely desynced with that animation. As they go to sell cargo, Hull C unfortunately does get kind of the short end of the stick in a lot of sales for cargo, because the actual ability to undock and dock seems to be kind of broken, and it really generally depends on how well your server is performing. The biggest issue is the docking collar does not extend properly when the ship is spawned, so the ship will just stay out there, but the docking collar itself does not extend, so you cannot board the ship, period. Or even worse, you have to just go into EVA and get onto the ship, which could take a long time. So I don't know how that player did it. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they went into EVA and just kind of did their business that way. Either way, that is a lot of effort for getting that Hull C to work, sir. I applaud you. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, what do we got here? Yes, there it is. Small hangar opening up, and we have what appears to be potentially a Pisces R here. I do see the white and red, so that does indicate to me a Pisces rescue. We do have changes to the respawn mechanics that have been put in recently in this patch, 323.1 to be more specific. And that allows any medical bed to be a respawn point so long as you are within range of that medical bed's respawn ability. I do believe the Medical Ursa, or the NURSA as it's known as, is also got that ability as well as the Pisces R, so there's a little bit more utility there. Very nice takeoff, and the gear was up just as we'd like to see it. It's very cinematic takeoff. That's exactly what we're looking for there, folks. 10 out of 10. Takeoffs are the easiest, as long as you don't bump anything, as long as you don't forget the gear and don't forget your VTOLs if your ship has it. It's pretty easy to get a 10 out of 10. Really, really not too hard to pull off. But yeah, the medical changes have definitely had it created a big controversy on Spectrum, I noticed. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on the changes to the medical stuff. I may do a video on it this week. We'll see if I have time to get around to it. I do kind of want to talk about it a little bit, but let me know your thoughts below. Let's go ahead and move on. What do we got here? We have a Freelancer MIS. Freelancer MIS being the militia missile boat by MISC, which is the variant of the Freelancer. And of course, because it is Invictus Launch Week, this is technically a military ship, and it is available for rental right now if you do want to try it. It has an absolute metric ton of missiles to it. It has an internal missile magazine as well as a ton of them on the wings, as well as it has the brand new upgrade the Freelancers actually got in this patch, which it now has 3 shield generators on it instead of just the 2. Very, very cool. And yeah, nice controlled descent here. We could see the gear was out way too early, and there's no VTOL to worry about on the Freelancer. And a little bit rough on the landing there, a little bit too nosed in, but again, this could be a potential new player or a player trying out the Freelancer for the first time, or at least this variant of it. Either way, though, we have some steps missing there. Some minor hesitation, and of course, early gear activation, something we don't want to see, so that will be points taken away, and that will be a solid 7 out of 10. Actually, you could probably drop that to about a 6, arguably, because of that nose-in approach did not look as good. There's definitely an ability to argue for a 6 out of 10, but for now, I'll keep it at a 7. I do think that looks fine. That's pretty good. I do want to see some of that stuff be tightened up a little bit, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on. We got a small hangar opening up here, and we do have a Cutlass ready for takeoff. Cutlass does have its gear up. It's not using VTOLs. Yeah. Oh, it's taking off a little bit early. Careful there. Don't wait for the don't wait for the doors to open first. It kind of scrapes the sides there as they take off. This Cutlass Red here also has the respawn capabilities now because it has a medical bed, of course. Like I said earlier, all medical ships that have a medical bed attached to them now have the respawning capability so long as you are in range of it. Yeah, and that Cutlass Red a little bit eager on the takeoff there. All the steps were ready to go there, but they did connect with the side of the hangar, and you know, folks, as my rating is, if you connect with any part of the hangar, that is a lot of points taken off there. And it's unfortunate they also weren't using VTOLs. Now, I can understand why you wouldn't want to. Of course, the Cutlass is one of the worst ships that handles when you're using VTOLs, at least when you're trying to go forward, because its MAVs generally suck and are not very good at pushing you forward, so you need to have the main engines actually lined up and horizontal to be able to push out properly. Otherwise, you kind of have to fly it like a helicopter and it looks kind of goofy. So in more recent times, as I've flown the Cutlass a lot more, I've kind of been a little bit more lenient. You can see this Constellation coming in. A little bit more lenient on Cutlass owners because of that. So I will be not, dinging too much for that. But overall, that takeoff was about a 7 out of 10. Could be a lot more. Could be an 8 or a 9. However, because they had impact, got to take points away. Okay, small hangar is going to be opening up here. I could already see this player was in their ship, and there it goes. The hangar is now opening up here. What have we got? Another Avenger Titan, of course, because it is part of the loaner for the free fly. Let's see how this pilot takes off. They're already nice up in the air and looks to be controlled. Gear is coming up, exactly what we want to see. And let's push out. No, hesitate. Don't hesitate. Just go. And look at that. Beautiful takeoff. Minor hesitation there, but that's exactly what you want to see, folks. You want to see that kind of takeoff there, but don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to really push the throttle forward and just get going there. So that is going to be a 9 out of 10. I will take that point away for that hesitation. They were about to go, and then they decided to pull the reins a little bit on their horses and then hold back before they went out. And I mean, that's understandable. You never know when those doors could be desynced, so you want to give them a little bit more time. But still, if you're going to commit, just commit, right? Kind of want to see how this guy looks as they take off into QT here. So I'm going to get a little bit closer. Let's see what they're going to do. All right, looks like they're lined up here. Are they going to hit the big red button? Let's find out. And come on, there we go. Off they go into the inky black of space, probably to an OM or something like that. Of course, no sounds, but that's because we are getting an update to quantum travel soon, which will have some cool new sounds. Let's move on. What is going on over here? There's this Redeemer that's kind of abandoned out here, and it appears the station is just unloading on it for some reason here. Oh, there it goes. You think it just got soft death potentially? Oh, there it goes. It just gets demolished. Oh, and some torpedoes are being fired at it too. Yeah, it just I just decided to come out here now. It's a different time, obviously, because it's nighttime. And yeah, I just saw this Redeemer just started getting attacked for no reason. I don't know if they were trying to come in and land or if this was abandoned. It just had the default tag on it, and then the station just decided to just unload on it. Very strange. Very, very strange. Just the weird stuff you see out here. Hey, we got fireworks here. Although the fleet is not here, the Idris and the Flyby are not here, but we're going to get fireworks anyway. Sure, well, I'll take it. But this gives me an opportunity to talk with you all about a couple things here. So I get a lot of emails from you all. Thank you so much. But my emails do filter anything that is not like a business proposition, essentially. So I do apologize if I don't ever reply or even get back to your emails. Some of you folks have been emailing me. And a lot of you have been trying to reach out to me about various stuff. Like, for example, I've gotten people ask me, like, hey, could I start my own watching people take off and landing series? By all means, folks, I don't own a copyright to this format here. This is all just within Star Citizen. It's all completely live. There's no scripting, nothing like that. I'm just watching people coming and going. If you want to do it yourself, by all means. I don't really have a, you know, like a monopoly. I'm not going to take you to court over this stuff. I will welcome other people who want to do this as well themselves. If they want to come in and try to rate other people's landings themselves and create their own series, by all means. I've had people ask me, can I do it in my own native tongue? Or could I do my own variation on it with like pirate landings or something like that? Like, I've had different people ask for like permission on this. You don't need my permission, folks. Like I said, this format is not something that I'm going to be taking people to court over or something like that. And I know you're all just trying to be courteous about it, but the reality is, at the end of the day, it's not a format that I own. This is just Star Citizen being Star Citizen. And I just happen to have some hard disk space to capture it and then put it up for you all, and you all seem to enjoy it, which I do as well. So if that's something that you want to do on your own, by all means, you don't need my permission for that, for sure. And of course, if somebody comes into your comment section and goes, you're ripping off Hybrid V, just say, hey, listen, Hybrid V already said it's cool. So you guys, if there is permission needed, the permission is like, yeah, I don't care, guys. I just, if you want to do it, go for it. Absolutely. At some point, I do want to bring on, like, for example, guests onto this show. I think that's going to be a different change in format at some point. So I do want to kind of expand this watching people take off and landing format as well. And everybody always wants to debate me on what should be a 10 or a 9 or an 8. So maybe we'll also have a standard rating at some point too, but I would need like a council to help me put that together. Either way, if you have suggestions or if you just want to get in touch with me directly, don't email me. Generally, like my email is only for businesses and stuff like that, for business types of queries. If you want to reach me directly, my Discord is actually linked below, so be sure to join the Discord channel there and feel free to at me. I'll be on there. I'm almost always going to be present and available to answer any questions you might have down there. So if you have something you want to bring up to me, that is going to be the best place to do it. All right, let's go ahead and let's find our next customer, shall we? Let's move on. And we have a flying wedge coming in. This is probably going to be an Ares. I recognize that Crusader design language anywhere from afar. And it indeed is an Ares. What type of Ares? An Inferno, to be more specific here. An Inferno coming in for landing. Let's see how they do as they gingerly approach the hangars here. Slowing down ever so slightly as they pull to a stop. Gear coming out early. Of course, we don't like, oh goodness, something is shooting at it. What is going? Big shots coming in from the rear of it. Oh goodness, you can see the force reactions as they lose an engine. They are now on fire. Something is shooting at it. I think it's potentially the station. The giant anti-ship cannons from the station are shooting at it. This player may have a crime stat, although I do think you can't get a you can't actually get a pad if you have a crime stat. So this player maybe it just has a temporary hostility flag on them, possibly, because they were given access to land here. I think if you have a crime stat, you're not allowed to land. I'm not an expert on criminality here, folks. I generally fly pretty clean. So yeah, although that landing was pretty good, despite missing an engine, or missing some of their engines there and missing a wing. They pulled their gear out a little bit early, but still, that was a relatively solid landing there. I can't quite give them a full rating because, of course, they were missing thrusters there, which makes it kind of unfair for them at that point. You can see that they got a huge hit to the rear, and that force reaction threw them off. That was really cool. Let me know in the comments what we should rate this guy. What do you think we should rate that Inferno? Because that was actually pretty fun to watch there. Let me know in the comments below. All right, pilots, I think this is going to be a perfect place to end things for today. If you did indeed enjoy today's video, please leave a like, as it really does help out the channel. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this and much more down the line, be sure to subscribe as well. And if you want to go a little bit above and beyond the Call of Duty supporting the show that I do here, you can also consider becoming a channel member, just like these fine folks here, whose support helps me make these videos for you all, which I absolutely adore doing. It's so much fun. But until next time, fly safe, because you never know who might be watching, and I'll see you all in the black.